Shop with Sienna Spotlight, where I chat with creative, fun, and talented people in and around pop culture. And on today's episode, I'm going to be speaking with the founder of Tates Bake Shop, Kathleen King. I love Tate's cookies. They're amazing. I love how they're thin and crunchy, unlike any other cookie I've ever had. But what's even more amazing is Kathleen King's journey to build this company. And now, without further ado, here's my interview with Kathleen King. So you started baking and selling cookies when you were 11. Mm-hmm. Why cookies, and what inspired you to start selling them?
Well, I really didn't have much of an inspiration other than that my father told me that's what I had to do. And, back then when I was your age, no was not an option. It was like, you're going to bake cookies and sell them at the farm stand so that you could buy your clothes for school. So I was like, okay. And that's actually how I started making the cookies. And to be honest, my sister and her friend were making cookies at the farm, and they were doing brownies and bread. But when they turned 14, they wanted to go to work at like an ice cream parlor. They decided they wanted a real job because they wanted to be in a position to meet boys. And because making the cookies at the farm, you were basically by yourself. So I was the youngest of four. And so then that got passed on to me that I had to start doing it because I was old enough now to buy my clothes for school. And then I just kept making them, and I had no younger brother or sister to pass them on to, and I just kept making them, and they became very popular, and I enjoyed making people happy, and that's how it just all got started.
Yeah, that's actually so funny too. You had to buy your own clothes, and that's kind of how you just started making cookies.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite parts about Tate's cookies is that's not like any other cookie, is Tate's cookies are thin and crunchy. Did you create your own type of cookie as a kid, or did all of that happen later? Like, did you know that you wanted to make thin and crunchy cookies as a kid?
No, things kind of happened organically. When I was younger, I made very big cookies because when I was baking cookies, that was before the supersizing of America. So I wanted it to be something that people would see and be attracted to, something different.
Yeah.
And they were big. They were always thinner, but they were a little softer back when I was younger, but they were big and thin. They were always thin.
Yeah.
And then when I got into business, the bigger cookies were, and the supersizing and everything, that was no longer a thing that I needed. So I wanted to then make smaller, normal size cookies. Mm-hmm. And then as I proceeded to do that, they came out like that. And I was like, oh, these are good. Okay. There's no major plan. I'd like to say there was, but there wasn't.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, I love how they turned out. I love the thin and crunchy because most cookies I have are always like big and then like chewy on the inside, which I love. But now I love thin and crunchy too because I've never really had.
Me too. Well, the bigger, the softer cookies I like, but only when they're warm.
Oh yeah.
When they're not warm, they just they don't really do it for me. They just kind of taste sweet.
Yeah.
Without like all the little nuances.
Yeah. And when did you know you wanted to open a business? When you were in college or before? Did you study to learn about business?
I did. I went to, I wanted actually to be a veterinarian. But then when I was in high school.
I love dogs.
I know. I love animals. And when I was in high school, I realized I did not have the intellectual potential to become a veterinarian. So I said, okay, well, I've got something here with these cookies. Maybe I'll do something with that. So I did go to college for 2 years and I studied, restaurant management. Mm-hmm. And then when I got out of college, I went back home and I was making cookies again for that summer in my parents' kitchen. And my mom had said, so what are your plans? And I was like, I don't know. And she said, well, this is the last summer you can use my kitchen. My mother was very independent and she pushed us to be independent. And I was like, oh. And she said, well, you know, there's a bakery for rent in town. Why don't you go check? And I was just like, okay. I was 20 years old at the time. So that's how it happened. So I went to the bakery and it was for rent. And I rented it because I needed a job. I needed a career. I needed to do something. And I rented it and opened my first store when I was 20 years old.
And I know you opened your store. It was called Kathleen Cookies, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it started with Kathleen's Cookie. Then it turned to Kathleen's Bake Shop because I wasn't just a cookie shop.
Uh-huh.
And then, you know, Zoom passed and then it turned into Tate's.
Where was the first store opened and what was involved with opening it?
The first shop was also in Southampton in a small location on North Sea Road. And what was involved back at the time, you know, it was a quick bakery. So I had kind of what I needed. And what I did was I spent the winter testing recipes and making things in larger batches to getting prepared to open, because back then it was 1980. The summer season was much more extreme than the winter season. It's evened out more out here, but then it was very extreme. So there was no reason to be open in the winter. And then I got prepared and I opened in May. And that was basically getting my menu and my recipe set and my costing. And I opened a very, very simple shop. Also back then, life was different out here. You could do things very simply without everybody wanting all the bells and whistles right away. So I was grateful for that because I was able to start with very little money.
Yeah, definitely. And what was your goal for the store? Did you see it growing or did you just want one bakery?
I only, you know, I didn't have a great vision as far as a business plan when I was 20. You know, I wanted to get a car and an apartment, kind of like every 20-year-old. You know, you want to move out of your house, you want to get an apartment, you want a car, you want to be independent. And it was like my job. So of course I wanted to make money. And my business grew and I used to do wholesale also. And I never really thought, I mean, I toyed with the idea of doing another shop, but not much. I was more interested in the wholesale because retail is very, very challenging.
Yeah.
And it's very, you know, you have to be very responsible because you have to be there on the weekends and you have to be there on holidays because that's the kind of business it is. And it kind of entraps you a lot more than wholesale does. So, and managing a retail store and filling it with the employees and having them run it right was always very difficult. So I never really thought, oh, I want a chain of stores. Yeah, my goal though, like always, was to be the best cookie in America.
Yes. And I understand you ran into some major challenges with business. Can you talk about what happened?
Yes. Well, when I was about 40, that was 20 years into my business, I took on some business partners because I wanted to kind of have a little bit more of a life and not work so much all the time.
Yeah.
And I made a few mistakes. One, and the partners that I chose was a terrible mistake. And two, I gave them a contract that was very naive and foolish. So in doing that, that combination caused me to lose my business. And basically all the money I had saved from my first 20 years in business. So when I started Tate's after, you know, like 9 months of the legal battles, I lost my name, so I started Tate's, which was my dad's name. And I started Tate's, I was $200,000 in debt and my house was for sale and I had no money left, but I owned the building that I was in because I bought that when I was 23. And so the mortgage was paid off. So I was able to refinance my bake shop building in order to get some money to try to get started and dig my way out of this terrible mess.
Got it. And did you have any new ideas or new visions for that company?
Yes, basically it was the same, and we specialized in homestyle American baked goods, and of course the chocolate chip cookie, which my father, who was a farmer, called the golden egg. And the my vision though with Tate's was much different from Kathleen's. Kathleen's Bake Shop, I was 20 years old. I just needed a job. I needed to make money, and I had a progressive work personality, so I just kept growing. With Tate's, my goal was to sell the business, to grow the business, get myself out of debt, then grow the business and sell the business, because now I'm not getting any younger. So, and when you own your own business, you have to plan your own exit strategy. Like there's no pension, there's no anything coming to you. If you shut the door, you're done. So I had to plan for that, and, which made executing my business much clearer and much easier, because I knew now where I wanted to be.
You sold Tate's Bake Shop in 2018. Do you miss it?
Yes and no. In the big picture, no, because I had a plan and I wanted to retire when I was 55, when I was still young enough to, I like to do a lot of sports. And so I wanted to be able to still travel and do those things. And I do miss some of my staff, and I miss being in the hub of the community on a day-to-day basis. But in the big picture, no, I was ready. I had a plan, and I was ready. I was ready for that change.
And how did you experience affect your ability to overcome challenges in general?
Overcoming challenges. Well, I think a lot of it had to do with, first of all, how I was raised. I was definitely not enabled in any way. And I was not told that, life was going to be like swell. When you grow up on a farm, you grow up with a very, very real world. And I think that was very helpful. And we were taught very, very young to be strong and to work hard and to get up when you fall down and keep going forward. So I think that really helped me a lot. And I also think when you're grateful for what you do have, you wake up and you carry on in the day, because there's already so much there, even if there's some bad things.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid of failure. I'm not afraid of failing. And when I do fail, I just move on. I learn from it and move on, because if you don't fail, that means you're not taking risks.
Yeah.
And everything we learn in life is from failures. It's not from happy.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I think it creates a richer character.
Yes, I agree.
If you have some dings along the way.
I agree. And what advice would you have for young people looking to pursue a dream and grow a business?
Well, my advice would be, perseverance is huge, because it's not easy. It's not easy. I'm not going to lie. It's very hard. So you have to have perseverance, and you have to really, really want what you're going after, and not to listen to people either, because there's a lot of naysayers out there. Everybody told me I'd never make money off cookies, and I was just like, whatever. There's people to listen to for certain things, but don't listen to people when it comes to your dream and accomplishing your goals, because you know best.
Yeah, that's some good advice. And what inspires you now?
Now, what inspires me? Kindness inspires me. People sometimes are forgetting kindness, and I love when I hear stories and see people being kind to each other. It sounds like it's such a small thing, but it's not.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And what is your favorite kind of cookie?
Chocolate chip cookies. I
Yeah.
love them, and I still make them in my house, because there's
Yeah.
no reason for me to buy them. And I still love making them. And sometimes when I feel like stressed or sad or whatever the million emotions we have, I make cookies because for me it's something so familiar and so grounding,
Mhm.
and it just makes me feel like at home.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. And then of course eating a couple helps too.
And do you have a second favorite cookie if you didn't choose chocolate chip?
Um, I don't really have a second favorite. I like oatmeal, but it has to be just the way I like it.
I agree. Yeah, I'm very picky about my oatmeal raisin.
Me too. It has the oaty flavor has to really come through,
Mm-hmm.
and it can't be too thick,
Yeah. I
and just the right amount of raisins, and the raisins have to be the right kind. They can't be big.
Yeah, and I think my second I love my favorite Tate's cookie is definitely chocolate chip and my favorite regular cookie. But I think my second favorite Tate's cookie, which is really good, is the coconut crisp ones.
Oh, yeah, I do like that one. Yes.
Yeah, those are really good. They kind of taste a little bit like the coconut macaroons that you guys sell at the bake shop.
Yeah.
But in a cookie form. So I really like
Those
those.
are good. I used to take the the coconut macaroons when I brought them home, and I would dip the base in dark chocolate. Oh, it was like a homemade almond joy. That was
That sounds really good. Yeah.
really good. Yeah.
And I have one more question because you said when you bake cookies at home, do you still bake them thin and crispy when you're at home too?
Oh yeah, I do. I bake them crispy, and then I have some people that I know that really love them, and I have some people in their 90s that they love them, so I pack them up and I mail them just randomly from time to time, thinking of you, and they're so happy, to receive them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was what you said in the beginning too. It ties right back how you said you love making people happy.
Yeah, yeah. So I like that, and baked goods, they do that, and making something that I know somebody loves gives me the same amount of joy as the receiver, which is nice.
Definitely.
That's what I love about food also.
I have a big sweet tooth, but I also love cooking and baking in general.
Oh, good. Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do. I love one of my favorite things. I love to experiment sort of in the kitchen. I'll follow recipes, but sometimes I like to make my own. Like actually, kind of funny because right before this, I just went to the supermarket or the grocery store, and I made one of those smoothie bowls for dinner. And I got like some frozen fruit, some almond milk, and just like two different kinds of granola. And I just made a smoothie bowl. So
well, that's nice. It's fun to experiment. We used to have a cooking night when I was a kid growing up, and my specialty was like leftover surprise. I would open the refrigerator and I'd be like, okay, I got a little of this, I got a little of this, I got a little of that. I'm going to do this and this. And sometimes those were my better meals.
I always like to watch baking TV shows a lot. I would just I would note some of the stuff they use and be like, oh, next time I make this, I've got to put this in it. But yeah.
Do you like the British baking show?
I've heard of I think so many people have recommended it to me, but I haven't watched it before.
Oh, if you like baking shows, you should watch that one because it's very, very good. Mm-hmm. And what I like about the British shows opposed to the American shows when it comes to like competition, everybody's really nice to each other and supporting each other instead of like screaming and fighting and all of that. And they do some great things. I think you like it.
Yeah, I definitely have to check it out. And when I look on Netflix at baking shows, I always see it, but I've never clicked on it before. So now I have to
push that button.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much for doing this. I had so much fun talking to you, and I learned so much about probably one of my favorite cookie brands.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you, Sienna. It was lovely to chat with you. And, you're a delightful person and way beyond your years. And I love to watch you grow up more and see what you do with your life. It's quite interesting.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Miss King. I loved hearing about your story building this company. And I think it's so cool that you started baking and selling cookies when you were my age. Well, that's it for today. Be sure to follow me on my Instagram at Sienna_Baccio and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more on Search It Up with Sienna Spotlight. See you then!